Every single evening, the same thing happened. Mr. Harrison stood by the tall window of his mansion, watching his golden gates swing open. His black car rolled up the smooth driveway. The driver opened the door, and out stepped 10-year-old Thomas, covered in dirt, mud on his expensive shoes, dust on his sky-blue school shirt, his neat hair messy and wild, his face tired, like he had been digging holes all day. "Thomas," Mr. Harrison called from the top of the marble stairs. "What happened to you?" Thomas looked down at his feet. "Nothing, Father." "Nothing? You look like you've been playing in a garbage dump." "I'm sorry, Father." Thomas walked past him, his head low, his voice quiet. This happened every day. Monday, dirty. Tuesday, dirty. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, dirty, dirty, dirty. Mr. Harrison was one of the richest men in the city. He owned hotels, restaurants, and shopping malls. His house had 17 rooms, a swimming pool shaped like a dolphin, and a garden where peacocks walked around like they owned the place. Everything in his world was clean, shiny, and perfect, except his son. The servants whispered about it. Maria, the housekeeper, shook her head as she scrubbed mud from Thomas's clothes every night. "That boy," she muttered. "Where does he go?" Mr. Harrison wondered the same thing. He asked Thomas's teacher. "Thomas is a wonderful student," Mrs. Chin said, smiling. "He's kind, quiet, and always does his homework. No problems at all." "Then why does he come home looking like a street dog?" Mr. Harrison snapped. Mrs. Chun blinked, surprised. I don't know. He looks perfectly clean when he leaves school." That made it worse. It meant Thomas was getting dirty after school, on purpose, going somewhere, doing something, hiding something. Mr. Harrison tried asking nicely, "Son, do you have a friend? Someone you play with after school?" Thomas stared at his dinner plate. "No, Father." "Then where do you go?" "Nowhere special." "Thomas, I'm asking you a simple question." Thomas's eyes filled with tears, but he didn't cry. He just sat there, silent as a stone, protecting his secret like it was made of gold. Mr. Harrison felt something twist in his chest. Anger? No, something worse. Fear. What if Thomas was in trouble? What if someone was hurting him? What if bad people were making him do bad things? He thought about hiring someone to follow Thomas, a private detective, someone sneaky and professional. But then he imagined explaining it. "Yes, I'm too busy to follow my own son, so I'm paying you to do it." No, that felt wrong. So he made a decision that felt strange and uncomfortable, like wearing shoes on the wrong feet. Tomorrow, he would cancel his meetings. He would drive himself. He would follow Thomas and see exactly where his son went every single day. That night, Mr. Harrison couldn't sleep. He lay in his huge bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the clock tick. His mind raced with terrible possibilities. Was Thomas sneaking off to meet older kids who smoked cigarettes? Was he gambling? Stealing? Fighting? At 3 a.m, he got up and walked down the hallway to Thomas's room. The door was open just a crack. He peeked inside. Thomas was asleep, his small body curled up under his blankets. His face looked peaceful, innocent. On his bedside table sat his backpack, old and worn, even though Mr. Harrison had bought him 3 new ones this year. Mr. Harrison wanted to march in, shake Thomas awake, and demand the truth, but he didn't. Instead, he just stood there in the dark hallway, watching his son breathe, feeling like a stranger in his own home. Morning came bright and cold. Mr. Harrison put on casual clothes, jeans, and a jacket. Instead of his usual suit, he felt weird, like he was wearing a costume. He drove his own car, a dark blue sedan that nobody would notice, instead of his fancy silver one with the personalized license plate. At exactly 3 o'clock, he parked across the street from Thomas's school. His heart pounded. His hands gripped the steering wheel. He felt like a spy, a detective, a father who didn't know his own son. The school bell rang. Children poured out like ants from a hill, laughing and shouting. Mr. Harrison scanned the crowd, searching. There, Thomas, walking alone, his backpack heavy on his shoulders. Thomas didn't walk toward the street, where the driver usually waited. Instead, he turned left, heading away from the nice part of town, away from the clean sidewalks and trimmed trees, away from everything safe and familiar. Mr. Harrison's stomach dropped. He started his car and followed, staying far enough back that Thomas wouldn't notice. His mind screamed warnings. Turn around. Go back. This is dangerous. But he kept driving. Thomas walked for 15 minutes. The buildings around them changed. The paint peeled. The windows cracked. Trash gathered in corners. People sat on stoops, staring at nothing. This was the part of the city Mr. Harrison never visited, the part he pretended didn't exist. And his son walked right into it, like he belonged there. Thomas stopped in front of an old, crumbling apartment building. The walls were stained. The front steps were broken. A rusty fire escape hung like a skeleton on the side. Mr. Harrison parked and watched, his breath caught in his throat. Thomas looked around, checking to see if anyone was watching. Then he slipped inside the building and disappeared. Mr. Harrison sat frozen. Every instinct told him to rush in, grab his son, and drag him home. But something stopped him. A feeling, a whisper. Wait, watch, see. He got out of his car, his legs shaking, and crept toward the building. The door hung crooked on its hinges. Inside, the hallway was dark and smelled like old water and sadness. He heard voices, soft, gentle. Thomas's voice. Mr. Harrison followed the sound up a narrow staircase. On the second floor, a door stood half open. Light spilled out. He moved closer, silent as a ghost, and looked inside. What he saw made his whole world stop. Thomas knelt on the dirty floor beside a small boy. The other child looked about 6 years old. His clothes were torn and too big for his tiny body. His face was thin, his cheeks hollow like someone had scooped out the insides. His feet were bare and dirty. He sat on a pile of old blankets in the corner of an empty room, and Thomas was giving him food. Mr. Harrison watched through the crack in the door, unable to move, unable to breathe. "I brought you a sandwich today," Thomas said softly, unwrapping something from his lunchbox. "It's peanut butter and jelly. Your favorite." The little boy's eyes went wide. He grabbed the sandwich with both hands and bit into it like he hadn't eaten in days. Maybe he hadn't. Thomas smiled. Not a small smile. A real, huge, beautiful smile that Mr. Harrison hadn't seen on his son's face in months. "Slow down, Danny," Thomas said gently. "You'll get a tummy ache." Danny. The boy had a name. Thomas pulled out an apple, a juice box, and a bag of crackers. He lined them up carefully on the floor, like they were treasures. Then he took off his school jacket, the expensive one Mr. Harrison had bought from Italy, and wrapped it around Danny's shaking shoulders. "You're cold," Thomas said. "Keep this today. I'll bring another one tomorrow." Danny looked up at Thomas with eyes full of something Mr. Harrison had never seen before. Not just gratitude. Something bigger. Love. Trust. Hope. "Where's your mama?" Thomas asked quietly. Danny's face fell. "Working. She works all day and all night. Sometimes she doesn't come home." Thomas nodded like he understood, like this was normal, like he heard this every day. "That's okay," Thomas said. "I'm here. I'll always come back." Mr. Harrison felt something break inside his chest. A dam. A wall. Something that had been holding back a flood. Tears filled his eyes. His hands trembled. His knees felt weak. All this time, he thought Thomas was getting into trouble, doing something bad, something shameful. But Thomas was doing the exact opposite. His son, his quiet, mysterious son, was being a hero. Every day after school, while Mr. Harrison sat in his office counting money and making deals, Thomas walked to the poorest part of the city to feed a hungry child, to give warmth to someone who had none, to be a friend to someone who was completely alone. The dirt on Thomas's clothes wasn't from playing. It was from kneeling on dirty floors, from climbing broken stairs, from sitting in dust and poverty, because he cared more about helping someone than staying clean. Mr. Harrison's whole body shook. Shame crashed over him like a wave. When was the last time he had done something kind? When was the last time he had helped someone who couldn't pay him back? When was the last time he had thought about anyone except himself? He couldn't remember. Thomas pulled a handkerchief from his pocket, the white silk one Mr. Harrison had given him for his birthday, and gently wiped Danny's face. "You got jelly on your nose," Thomas said, laughing. Danny giggled. Actually giggled. The sound was like music in the dark, broken room. Mr. Harrison couldn't watch anymore. He couldn't hide anymore. He pushed the door open. Thomas jumped up, his eyes huge with fear. "Father!" Danny scrambled backward, pressing himself against the wall, terrified. "Please don't be mad." Thomas cried. His voice cracked. Tears spilled down his cheeks. "Please, Father, I'm sorry. I know I should have told you, but I was scared you'd make me stop. And Danny needs me, and I couldn't just leave him here alone and hungry. I couldn't." "Thomas." Mr. Harrison's voice came out broken and strange. He fell to his knees, right there on the dirty floor, in his expensive jeans. He knelt down and looked his son in the eyes. And then he started to cry. Real tears. Big, heavy tears that he hadn't cried since he was a little boy himself. "Father," Thomas whispered, confused and frightened. Mr. Harrison pulled Thomas into his arms and held him tight. "I'm not mad," he choked out. "I'm not mad at all." You're not." "No." Mr. Harrison pulled back and looked at his son's beautiful, dirty face. "I'm proud of you. So proud of you." Thomas blinked. "Really? I've spent my whole life building businesses and making money," Mr. Harrison said, his voice shaking. "I thought that made me successful. I thought that made me important. But you—" He touched Thomas's cheek. "You've been doing something I never could. You've been kind. You've been caring for someone who needed you. You've been better than me." Thomas's tears came faster now, but they were different tears. Relief tears. Happy tears. Mr. Harrison looked over at Danny, who was still pressed against the wall, watching with huge, frightened eyes. "Hello, Danny," Mr. Harrison said softly. Danny didn't answer. He just stared. "My name is Mr. Harrison. I'm Thomas's father." He smiled, even though his face was wet with tears. "Thomas has told me. Well, he didn't tell me with words, but he showed me how special you are." Danny's lip trembled. "Are you going to take Thomas away?" The question hit Mr. Harrison like a punch to the stomach. This little boy, who had nothing, was terrified of losing the one good thing in his life, the one person who cared, the one friend who showed up every single day. "No," Mr. Harrison said firmly. "I'm not taking Thomas away from you." "You're not?" Danny whispered. "No." Mr. Harrison took a deep breath. His whole body trembled as he made a decision that would change everything. "I'm doing something else." Thomas looked at his father, confused. "What do you mean?" Mr. Harrison stood up. He looked around the broken room, the cracked walls, the cold floor, the single, dirty window that barely let in light. This was where Danny lived. This was where a 6-year-old child spent his days and nights, alone and hungry, waiting for a mother who might not come home. No child should live like this. No child. Mr. Harrison looked at Danny and said the words that came from somewhere deep in his heart, somewhere he had forgotten existed. "Danny, how would you like to come home with us?" The room went silent. Thomas gasped. "Father, do you mean?" "I mean," Mr. Harrison said, his voice steady and sure for the first time in years, "that we have 17 rooms in our house. 16 of them are empty. Danny can have one. He can have food every day, clean clothes, a warm bed, safety, family." Danny's eyes filled with tears. "Really? Really?" Mr. Harrison knelt down again, looking the little boy straight in the eyes. "If your mother says yes, you can come live with us. You'll never be hungry again. You'll never be alone again. I promise." Danny threw himself into Mr. Harrison's arms and sobbed. And Mr. Harrison held him, this small, fragile, dirty child, and felt something he had never felt before. Purpose. Real, true, beautiful purpose. 3 months later, the Harrison mansion looked completely different. Not on the outside. The gates were still golden. The driveway was still smooth. The peacocks still walked around like princes. But inside, everything had changed. In the kitchen, Thomas and Danny sat at the big table, their feet swinging because they were too short to reach the floor. They were eating pancakes, chocolate chip pancakes that Mr. Harrison had made himself. He wasn't very good at cooking yet. The pancakes were a little burned, but the boys ate them anyway, laughing with syrup on their chins. "Father, you put the chocolate chips in a smiley face." Thomas pointed at his pancake. Mr. Harrison grinned. "I'm getting better, right?" "Much better than last week," Danny said seriously. "Last week they were black like coal." All three of them burst out laughing. Maria, the housekeeper, watched from the doorway, shaking her head with a smile. She had been shocked when Mr. Harrison brought Danny home that first day. A poor child, living in the mansion? She thought Mr. Harrison had gone crazy. But then she saw how Thomas's eyes sparkled again, how he laughed, how he ran to the halls with Danny, playing tag and building blanket forts. And she understood. The house had been beautiful before, but now it was alive. Danny's mother had cried when Mr. Harrison found her. She worked 3 jobs, cleaning offices at night, washing dishes at a restaurant in the morning, and selling flowers on street corners in the afternoon. She barely slept. She barely ate. Also, Danny could have a roof over his head, even if it was a broken one. "I can't take care of him," she had sobbed. "I love him so much, but I can't give him what he needs. I'm failing him every single day." Mr. Harrison had held her hands. "You're not failing. You're fighting. You're a warrior. But let me help. Let Danny live with us. You can visit whenever you want. And when you're ready, when you've rested and healed, we'll help you find a better job, a real home, a new start." She had agreed, tears streaming down her face, hugging Danny so tight he squeaked. Now, Danny lived in the room next to Thomas. It had blue walls because blue was his favorite color, a soft bed with a blanket covered in stars, shelves full of books and toys, a closet full of clean clothes that actually fit. But Danny's favorite part wasn't the fancy stuff. It was that he wasn't alone anymore. Every morning, Mr. Harrison woke the boys up by tickling their feet. Every afternoon, he picked them up from school himself. No more drivers, no more distance. Every evening, they ate dinner together at the big table, talking about their day. And every night, Mr. Harrison tucked both boys into bed and read them stories. "Once upon a time," Mr. Harrison read, his voice soft and warm, "there was a kingdom where people measured their worth by how much gold they had." Danny yawned, his eyes drooping. Thomas smiled, already half asleep. Mr. Harrison closed the book and kissed both their foreheads. "I love you both," he whispered. "Love you too, Father," Thomas mumbled. "Love you, Mr. Harrison," Danny whispered. Then, quieter, almost afraid to say it, "Love you, Dad." Mr. Harrison's eyes filled with tears. Happy tears. He squeezed Danny's hand. "I love you too, son." 2 sons. He had 2 sons now, and his heart, which he thought was full before, had somehow grown bigger to hold them both. The business meetings happened less now. Mr. Harrison still ran his companies, but he wasn't obsessed anymore. He left the office at 5 o'clock sharp. He said no to weekend trips. He chose bedtime stories over business dinners. His employees were shocked. His business partners were confused. But Mr. Harrison didn't care. He had finally figured out what truly mattered. One Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. Mr. Harrison opened it to find Danny's mother standing there, holding a small cake. "I got the job," she said, her face glowing. "The one you helped me apply for, at the library. It's perfect. I'll have weekends off. I can actually rest." Mr. Harrison hugged her. "I'm so proud of you." "Danny can come home soon," she said, though her voice wavered. "I'm getting an apartment. A real one with heat and windows that close. He can have his own room again." Danny appeared behind Mr. Harrison, holding Thomas's hand. "Mama!" He ran to her, and she scooped him up, spinning him around. But then Danny looked back at Thomas, at Mr. Harrison, at the home that had given him safety when he had none. "Mama," Danny said quietly, "can Thomas and Mr. Harrison visit me? In our new apartment?" "Of course, baby. And can I visit them too? On weekends?" She looked at Mr. Harrison, and he nodded. Always, Mr. Harrison said. You're part of this family now, Danny. Forever. No matter where you live. Danny smiled. The biggest, brightest smile in the whole world. Later that night, after Danny's mother left and the boys were playing in the garden, Mr. Harrison stood by the tall window again. The same window where he used to watch Thomas come home dirty every day. Now he watched both boys running through grass, their clothes getting muddy, their laughter filling the air like music. Maria walked up beside him. You know, she said softly, this house used to be so clean, so perfect, so quiet. I know, Mr. Harrison said. Now there are toys everywhere. Muddy footprints on the marble, noise and mess and chaos. Mr. Harrison smiled. I know. Maria smiled too. It's better now, isn't it? Much better. Because Mr. Harrison had finally learned the truth. The truth his son had tried to show him all along. Real wealth wasn't in bank accounts or mansions or fancy cars. Real wealth was in dirty knees from kneeling beside someone who needed help. Real wealth was in shared sandwiches and warm jackets given freely. Real wealth was in coming home not to a perfect, empty house, but a laughter and love and people who needed you. Thomas had been rich all along. He had been rich in kindness, in compassion, in courage. And now, finally, Mr. Harrison was learning to be rich too. The dirt on Thomas's clothes had never been a problem to solve. It had been a lesson to learn. And Mr. Harrison had learned it well. If this story touched your heart, imagine how many other families need to hear it, like this story to spread kindness. Share it with someone who needs a reminder about what truly matters. And subscribe to hear more stories that change the way we see the world. Because every share plants a seed of compassion. Every like builds a bridge of understanding. And every subscription creates a community that chooses love over wealth, people over possessions, and hearts over gold. What will you choose today?